Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Baseball is back officially. Opening weekend was a fun one. Uh, yeah, let's jump into it. In the American League, A's, Mariners, they end up splitting. Angels took two of three from the White Sox. There was a little bit of weather issue in game three, but the Angels did come out on top. Guardians and KC, really good series. Guardians come out on top, two of three. O's and J's end up splitting. Opening day was a massacre in Toronto for the O's, but then the J's, in my opinion, outplayed them the last 3 days. So that was
Yep.
a really good series. And then Boston and Texas, surprise, surprise. The Rangers took three of four. Maybe not a surprise because if you've been watching the channel, we took the Rangers to be the best team in the American League West.
Yep.
But Boston coming off that really strong off season getting out of the gates stumbling a little bit. So it was a really good series. The games, all four were competitive, but the Rangers do take three of four. Why don't you go over the National League, Blake?
Yeah, in the National League, three walk-off wins for the Miami Marlins. They take three of four from the Pittsburgh Pirates. Philly takes two of three from Washington. It was the Giants two of three over the Cincinnati Reds, and surprisingly, the Padres take all four games from the Atlanta Braves. The Atlanta Braves 0-4 to start the year, and the Chicago Cubs and Arizona Diamondbacks end up splitting that series, which turned out to be a really good series as well.
Yeah, and then the Interleague, the Cardinals end up sweeping the Twins. I don't know if that's really a surprise. Maybe at the sweep, but the Twins didn't do anything this offseason. The Cardinals didn't either. But the Cardinals are swinging it to start the year, so
Yep.
they look good. Tampa took two of three from the Rockies at their new ballpark. Well, the Yankees AAA ballpark they're renting. Mets, Houston. Houston ended up winning two of three in that series. Dodgers, Detroit. We'll get into that in a little bit, but they ended up sweeping the Tigers and getting their rings. And let's jump into the big story of the weekend. The Yankees absolutely destroying the Brewers all weekend long, but it's not that they hit homers, it's that they're using torpedo bats.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, the torpedo bat, I think maybe it's just getting a little bit more media coverage because of the big weekend from the Yankees. We've seen some other players use different variations of this bat. I mean, Jeff McNeil doesn't use specifically a torpedo bat, but he, uses a bat that has no handle or it has no knob on its handle, right?
Yep.
So Rob Manfred actually came out saying these things are legal, and other players already throughout the weekend were using these. So I don't think it really is a Yankees thing. They did do a study on Volpe. They came out and said that. And this is the reason why Volpe's using this bat now is that he gets pounded inside with fastballs and he's getting his hands there, just not catching enough barrel. So they change it to this and what Volpe already has three homers on the weekend.
Yeah, he had two opening day, and Chisholm uses this bat too. He's off to a very good start as well. It's just you gotta respect the Yankees though. Like their staff did a study on this guy, and they dove into the analytics and they made adjustments, and it's paying off early. So yeah, let's go into the Dodgers. They end up getting their rings, and they're starting the season 5-0, man. They obviously took both from the Cubs down in Tokyo, and now they come back. They sweep the Tigers. It was a very close series. There's a series that went into extras. Mookie Betts had that walk off home run. So it was a very close series, and the Tigers easily could have taken a couple of those games. There's a controversial out call at the home plate in extras there. So what's your kind of take on the Dodgers start to the season?
Yeah, I mean, they're scary top to bottom. We already knew this.
Yeah.
I think a great example of that is Roki Sasaki's debut at Dodger Stadium didn't go the way he wanted to go. Only went an inning and two thirds, and the Dodgers offense said, "I got you, bud. No worries." And they went up and put 8 runs up. So, um, yeah, this team obviously is stacked. We've been saying this for the past couple of years, but I feel like this might be the best Dodger team of the past 15 seasons. Yeah, I mean, it's Mookie Betts was ill to start the season, and he's still coming out swinging it and hits a walk-off homer. It was electric. That's coming from an Angels fan. It was just really good scenes. Obviously, you got Ohtani, you got Freeman there, as you see on the screen. But man, this Dodgers team is probably going to be really special this year. I will say this though, the Tigers, we in their outlook, if you watch that video and pay attention to our channel, maybe this is your first time. Um, the Tigers, we kind of were like they got hot at the right time. What are they going to be this year?
Yeah.
The way they played against the Dodgers actually gave me a little bit more optimism than I was feeling going into the season. So we'll see if that carries over to their next opponent and they go and, kick somebody's ass. But, I will say that hats off to the Tigers. They didn't win any of those games, but they were all fairly close.
Yeah, 100%. Game of fighting chance for sure. That's all you can ask for.
Next up, we have the Padres, and the Dodgers better not get too comfortable because the Padres they went 4-0 as well, and they swept the Atlanta Braves, who yeah they don't have Ronald Acuna to start the season, but they're still stacked offensively, have a great pitching rotation. The Padres, who we thought maybe would take a step back, all guns blazing to start the year, and they took care of business against the Braves. Nick Pivetta shoved today in his debut. Uh, but yeah, I mean, this was shocking to me, not because I don't think the Padres are a good baseball team, but because the Atlanta Braves are 0-4 to start the season.
Yeah, that this probably is the series that surprised me the most. I did not see Atlanta Braves starting the season 0-4. I mean, you get a off to a bad start, bad couple weeks, bad 3 weeks, your season, like it's a deep hole to climb out of if you have a bad month of April. Like it's I know it's a long season and it's a marathon, not a sprint, but man, like the April is magnified big time, especially if you have a tough start to the season. And for the pardon me, for the Padres, it's a statement sweep. Like they're not messing around. They're going to be a contender in this NL West, and they showed out this weekend.
Do you think the Padres can hold pace with the Dodgers for more than 3 months?
That's going to be the $1 million question: is how long can these teams hang around with the Dodgers? Because you all know the Dodgers are going to be at that end. They're going to win 100+ games. And can the Padres can they go punch for punch? It's going to be tough to do, but I think they have a good enough pitching staff. Pardon me, their lineup is top heavy. You might need a couple guys to step up in that bottom half of that lineup to kind of take them over the top. But the Padres are going to be a very interesting team at the deadline to kind of see what they do because if they're there, they probably will take a big swing.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. There's ownership issue there, right? And they didn't really spend this
Yeah,
offseason, and they brought in Jason Hayward and Jose Iglesias, and yeah, there's a lot of older names that got brought in to replace key players. You see Jerkson Profar right there on your screen. Um, Old friend gets to be in San Diego to start the year, and that's I just feel like the guys that they brought in to replace that production was a little sketch. I mean, we'll see. Maybe Jason Hayward has a big year, but it's been a minute for him, right? So,
yeah,
um, I think to answer my own question, I think the Padres could stay around. Um, but it's going to come down to health. And Manny Machado already left the game,
yeah.
in the first 4 games. That was a little scary. I was like, oh, but it wasn't anything serious. Not wishing anything upon anybody. But yeah, I mean, the Padres did really surprise me this weekend, and it's definitely something to keep an eye on.
100%. And down in Texas, Jacob deGrom made his 2025 debut, and he was back to his old self. 5 innings pitched, 2 hits, 2 walks, 6 Ks. That's the $1 million question. Can Jacob deGrom stay healthy and pitch a full season? And so far, so good for the Rangers. 3 of 4 from the Boston Red Sox. And just a side note here on the Red Sox, what's going on with Rafi Devers? It's ugly. He's a full-time DH now, and he set a MLB record for most strikeouts in a series to start the season. And if you're a Red Sox fan, that's got to be kind of concerning, no?
Absolutely. I don't know if it has anything to do with him getting moved off of third base. I know he wasn't too happy about that. At least he said in the beginning of the spring, and then it kind of changed the narrative later in the spring when they actually did it. Um, but it's Rafi Devers, and he's looked really good the past, what, his whole career? I don't know, four or
Yeah,
five seasons.
yeah.
I'm not worried about him. I don't think the Red Sox fans should be worried about him. It's definitely crazy that this is happening, such a talented hitter, but ultimately he's gonna get hot. And when Rafi gets hot,
Oh, yeah.
it's over for the league. But let's jump into what's on deck. We have Detroit taking on the Mariners, Red Sox versus the O's, Twins versus the White Sox. In the National League, we have the Braves taking on the Dodgers. That will be interesting because, if the Dodgers stay hot and the Braves don't, an 0-7 start to the year potentially.
Yep.
Uh, Mets versus Miami, the Rockies versus the Phillies, and a lot of interleague matchups. We have the Guards taking on the Padres, Cubs versus the A's, D-backs versus the Yankees, Angels versus Cardinals, KC versus Milwaukee, Texas versus the Reds, Pittsburgh versus Tampa Bay, and Washington versus the Toronto Blue Jays, and lastly, the Giants taking on Houston. I don't think Justin Verlander is going to throw in that series because he just threw yesterday, but would have been nice to see Verlander take on the Astros, but we're going to probably miss out on that. But what series other than Braves Dodgers, obviously, what series stands out to you going into this week?
I think it could be Arizona and the Yankees, two teams that have been swinging it to start the year. Another one that intrigues me is Texas and Cincinnati. Another two teams that have been swinging it. Um, Boston, Boston and Baltimore, two really good offenses, two good pitching staffs. That one as well, but obviously the main one is the Dodgers and the Braves, like you said. But yeah, there is some pretty intriguing matchups for sure. What
Yeah,
about you?
absolutely. Yeah, I think maybe off the wall, two of these that are off the wall. Cubs versus A's.
Hmm.
The A's pitch really, really well against Seattle.
Yep.
We know the offensive woes that Seattle usually has, at least they have in the past. Um, but the A's looked really good against the Mariners. Maybe not offensively so much, but they also were going against probably one of the best rotations with the Mariners in the league. I mean, top five at worst, top 10, right? So, um, yeah, A's versus Cubs, interesting. And that's the opening day in Sacramento as well. So,
Yep.
um, we'll see if that ballpark fills out. And then the last one, Guards Padres.
Hmm.
The Guardians are coming off a strong weekend. They they just are different. They're a different team than they were a year ago.
Yep.
And Kyle Manzardo, hats off to him. He balled out this weekend. But
Yep.
yeah, I think that's gonna do it for this one. If you like this video, make sure you hit that like and subscribe. As always, we appreciate you guys listening and watching. And we'll see you in the next one. Later.